Hi, my name's Cameron Taylor, Product Education Lead here at Pinch Payments. Today, I'm going to be guiding you through 4 things every founder should know. This is Module 4, Business Modeling and Financials. So, 4 essential components that founders need to know. The first one is why payments matter more than you think. The second one that we're covering is what founders should be thinking about early. Third, what is a payment system and some of the pitfalls that you can actually avoid when implementing one or looking for one. And 4, practical payment foundational pathways. So we'll actually leave you with some sort of operational guides and things to help you steer you down the right path. So let's get straight into it. One is why payments matter more than you think, right? Now, the things that we're going to be covering in this are payment related. So poorly implemented payments in your business as a whole, be it a SaaS platform or early startup of any nature, can actually cause some massive operational inefficiencies as you grow. So the first one that I want to talk about here is the concept of working for you, not against you. When it comes to payments, implementing a payment strategy or payment system or process in your business that's not thought about from the perspective of operational efficiencies, things like, making sure it aligns with what you're trying to achieve in the long run, that it's ensuring that you are cutting down on overhead and things like this. If you're not thinking about those things and you're not actually applying those into your wider strategy, it is going to cause you considerable pain. And you may potentially be implementing pieces of software or systems or processes that aren't necessarily adding as much value as they're subtracting from you. So thinking about and making sure that every time you do something, you're just sanity checking that it is working for you and not against you. That's a great one. So the next one that we'll talk about is automation, is operational efficiency. Now, when you're small, your time is exceptionally valuable, right? So when you are looking at systems or processes, ensuring that they're actually set up in a way to eliminate manual tasks and actually automate more components of your system. This one's important in the perspective of startups because when you are small, sometimes you may be still manually invoicing clients for the type of service that you're doing, stakeholders, invoicing suppliers, things like this, and expecting to receive payment promptly. Unfortunately, that's not a reality, especially here in Australia. So it can be really important to look at and implement strong payment strategies that work for your operational efficiency. Things like being able to automatically charge clients or wholesalers and things like this to ensure that you get paid on time, so that the on-flow effect of what that causes in your operations means that you can pay other people on time and you can actually have the cash flow to invest back into growth so that it's not stagnating and creating this lump sum burden of inefficiency in your organization. So those are the 2 really important ones. Second, we'll move on to what founders should be thinking about early. Now, some of these are what I think are the most important things to cover. So when we talk about this, we're talking about payments don't need to be complicated. If you think about them early in the piece, you don't have to think about them in the most granular detail ever, but you just start thinking about them as a core component of your business or your SaaS platform, and making sure that you're actually aligning all of those to supercharge your growth. You are going to be successful in that way. The first thing I want to discuss here is payments as a revenue stream. Now, this one's missed a lot by founders. Typically, they'll look for a payment platform to plug into their SaaS, and maybe that payment platform is nice and easy, and that's all it is. It's actually not adding anything operationally to you, and definitely not adding anything revenue for you, probably because it's not set up in a way for you to actually monetize the payment processing as an opportunity. So this one's missed by a lot of early stage founders, is they'll just plug some kind of payment gateway in and that's it. Oh, it's there. It allows me to take a payment on my SaaS platform or my product, but I charge for the product separately, right? So I'd love all of you to think about the opportunity of, and this is something that Pinch does offer, is the ability to actually receive a revenue share when you actually process payments if you build using a platform like Pinch Payments, right? So you can actually not only charge SaaS or for your service, you can actually potentially monetize the payments within your platform or business as well. So that's a really, really powerful one, and it can drastically boost your SaaS and your MMR revenue opportunities. So something to think about there. The next one is payment experience is actually a massive hidden growth hack. So ensuring that your actual payment experiences, if you are building those into your business or your application, are smooth and slick and really make the customer feel good, or at least, it's very hard to make someone feel good about parting their money, even if they want something from you. But removing as much friction from that process is going to increase your adoption rate, increase the amount that your customers actually enjoy your experience. And the third one here is scaling with the future in mind. So the pathway from a startup to a scaler, which is something that Pinch has experienced itself and been through the trials and tribulations of being a 2-person startup all the way through to now a 30+ person, company, are challenging, right? If you sense that you are, shoehorning yourself into too much of a direct pathway, that can be risky, right? So don't be afraid to diversify and actually pick up strengths and opportunities for the future in mind, and align yourselves with key partner opportunities and key revenue opportunities, right? So that might be things like, as I kind of alluded to before, not just charging a SaaS, but potentially aligning or restructuring the way that your business makes its money to ensure that it's more scalable and built for the future in mind. That leads us on to our third component. So this is what is an actual payment system and the pitfalls to avoid. So Pinch was once a startup, right? We built a payment system from the ground up. So when we talk about payment systems, we're quite knowledgeable in what a payment system is. Now, there's plenty of payment gateways out there, but when we refer to a payment system, that's actually a system that has all the other trimmings inside of it that actually allow you to not have to yourself implement things or hire people and do things to manage the requirements of operating a full-blown payment system end to end. When we talk about a system, we're talking about something that actually works for you, and this alludes back to that first point. So this is something that both manages compliance, risk, chargebacks, and all of the good engine components that allow the wheels on your startup train to keep moving forward without burying you in requirement for more hires, requirement for more systems, and sort of adding complexity on top of. So a strong payment system has all of these things built inside of it. So it's the engine that runs your payments. Now, a couple of the key things that people commonly slip on this process of both payment system and building their platform is not having the right customers. So when we talk about this, a lot of startups talk about product market fit, but at the same time that you need to work out and make sure that you've got product market fit, you also need to ensure that when you're marketing out to that market, that you're also attracting customer platform fit. So the right sort of customers that are going to use your platform. Because if you don't, you're going to have the wrong type of customer trying to use a platform that doesn't make sense for the type of customer that you've attracted, right? And this can actually aggressively skew your growth as well as the development of your platform, right? Especially if it is a SaaS-based product that you're trying to build. It can be really, really painful for you in the long run. So that one's a really important one. It's a very common pitfall to not be also thinking about platform fit, right, for your customers. An example of this is not offering the right type of payment experience for the type of platform that you're offering. So say, for example, you're building a mobile app, right, where you're expecting to be B2C, direct to customer, and you suddenly find that you are not wanting to implement Apple Pay or Google Pay. It's probably not going to be a great idea. But let's also imagine the flip of that of you've decided to offer BPay as an option inside of your app, right? That type of payment experience doesn't align to the type of customer that's going to be using your service. So why are you wasting time building something for that when it is just a non-alignment of the customer type for the payment type that you're choosing to offer? So be a little bit more strategic about making sure that what you're building and offering makes sense for the customer demographic and the ways of operating that those customers would expect as well. The last one is design for anti-fragile revenue. Now, this one's really important. Anti-fragile revenue methodology is all about ensuring that all of your eggs, be them clients or wholesalers or suppliers, are not just in one big fat vertical basket, right? If you put all of your eggs in one basket, and let's say, for example, you have one key client who currently accounts for 30% of all of your revenue, if that client suddenly lifts and shifts and goes somewhere else, do you fall over as well? How much does that expose you to potentially just collapsing overnight and no longer having the revenue to actually sustain your growth strategy and your development strategy and all of these sorts of things? So where possible, try not to put your eggs in one basket. There's obviously examples where if you're an industry specific piece of software or service that's targeting just one key vertical, be aware of this as a potential exposure point, right? And plan around it. How can you mitigate it? How can you diversify? Is there features? Is there services that you can offer that can actually slightly diversify, the band of what you're offering, so that in the event that someone like a big 30% revenue client disappears, you're not going to fall over, right? So design for anti-fragile revenue. That leads us on to the last component here, which is practical frameworks for early stage founders. We've got 3 practical frameworks here to cover. These are really things that you can holistically look to implement in your business to drive success forward, taking from some of these previous points. So this is first and foremost thinking about payments as a growth hack engine. So that's things like thinking about them as a revenue opportunity as well, and making sure that the engine aligns to what your long-term growth strategy is. There's plenty of examples of what this could look like when it gets into the nitty and gritty of it. But really, at the end of the day, if you're going to be having payments or some sort of SaaS billing inside of your application, making sure that a system like Pinch, for example, will be able to support you all the way through that band, and you're not just going to have to build all this stuff and then rip it out later, right? Because an example of this, before Pinch became its own PayFac and was able to platform itself, we were using other suppliers out there, and we very quickly outgrew them, and they didn't have the capabilities and functionality that we needed to support the ambitions of our platform. So do your research and make sure that the payments system and strategy that you implement is a growth hack for your revenue. The second one is finding the right mix of payments and customers. So I alluded to this before, that not only do you need to think about the right types of payments in your business, Apple Pay, Google Pay, not offering old school payment methods if you are looking for a more modern payment solution, but making sure that those also make sense for your customer demographic, right? If you're targeting 65-year-old plus seniors because you're doing, seniors life insurance system or something like that, and you are offering Apple Pay and Google Pay as your only payment options, it's probably going to cause a little bit of friction, right? And you may not get off to the best start. So think about, do the types of payments that I or people that I know in those demographics, would this align with their expectations so that the mix of customer and payment can match seamlessly? Leaving us with our last, this is good experience. So good payer experience wins the hearts and minds of your customers and drives revenue. If you have a good customer experience, right, your customers are going to want to be in your application. They're going to want to be receiving service from your business, whatever it is, and it is going to win them over. So good payer experience, it does trump all, and it is essential for you delivering a strong growth and revenue strategy. So think about where you can tweak your application, where you can tweak your business model, where you can tweak your service style to ensure that your customers are getting the best experience. Because at the end of the day, we have so much experience in this, being our own PayFac and facilitating payments. We very frequently choose to, waive fees and avoid negative experiences for our customer, even if it does cost us in the short term, because in the long term, it does create a really good payer experience and a good client experience that does create a sticky product and service for those clients, which keeps them around and avoids churn. So that's the last one that I'll leave you guys with.